What brings me joy is seeing the smiles on my kids' faces.
What brings me joy in the classroom is when my students, their wheels are turning, those curious minds are thinking, they get excited about a question that they can comprehend. And just when they are fully engaged in a lesson, that lets me know that me as a teacher, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right.
What brings me joy as a teacher is seeing the expression on my kids' face when they have that aha moment. They're finally, conceptualizing, the material.
I am supported by my school because I have an awesome math coach and a lot of community teachers that come around and help us out.
What makes a successful teacher in one word? I'm going to say dedication, because you really have to be dedicated not only to the students, but to your school as well. Dedicated to just giving 100% of yourself in all that you do.
Love. If you have that love for the kids, then you'll find a way to go out and, make those sacrifices and do the things you need to do in order to get to know not only them, but their parents, your staff. You get to learn your curriculum more, because these are all skills and things that they're going to need to take with them in life.
Welcome. Can everyone hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Great, awesome. Always like to know that before I jump right into it. Again, welcome to everyone who's here joining with us. Really appreciate you for carving out some time to learn more about TNTP Teaching Fellows. So again, welcome. But before we begin, as my church likes to say, go ahead and be an Apple or Facebook apostle and hit the share button on this video so that those in your network, your friends list, can see and learn all of the wonderful information that we are about to share with you. So we have some very special guests, panelists that I'm going to bring on in a second. But I'm going to first share my screen, and then we're going to jump right into this. Let's see. All right. So again, welcome to our TNTP Teaching Fellows Alternative Pathways to the Classroom, where passion meets purpose. As the late, great Marva Collins, which, by the way, if you do not know who that is, please go and research her, very pivotal educator. She said, "What all good teachers have in common, however, is that they set high standards for their students and do not settle for anything less." So I start with this quote because here at TNTP Teaching Fellows, we do truly believe that a single teacher can significantly impact the trajectory of their students, and that coupled with high expectations and ongoing professional development, both of which we provide, anything is possible. I'm going to now go through our agenda for this webinar. What's going to be first will be a brief introduction to who we are as an organization. I'm going to introduce our panelists, and then our panelists are going to give some specifics on their programs, BCTR, Indianapolis Teaching Fellows, Teach Minnesota, and Teach NOLA. And then we're going to engage in a Q&A. So please, as our panelists are going over important information, be thinking about and recording your questions that you have, because we're going to take some live questions at the end, as well as some of the questions that you have submitted in advance. And then lastly, we'll have closing. So what we believe that highly effective teachers can transform students' lives. We're proud to help launch the careers of new teachers from diverse backgrounds who are dedicated to fighting for educational equity. It's more about who we are. We've been working in school communities now for over 20 years, and our programs have trained over 38,000 diverse and talented teachers. We have a strong belief that in the research that supports having diverse teachers in the classroom and the important impacts and results that they're able to have for their students when students have teachers who look like them. So we strongly encourage that and actively seek diverse teachers to be in our classrooms. Our programs are all rooted in the local communities that we serve. So what that means is that we appreciate and understand that context matters, So whenever possible and as much as possible, we try to make sure that we're able to find teachers in the communities that are already in the communities that we serve, in order to teach in those same communities. And then lastly, our training model is both proven and innovative because we are consistently reflecting and evaluating the effectiveness of our teaching model and our training model in order to have achieve the best results for our students that we serve. So where do we teach? We teach in a few different locations that I've already mentioned, so I'll go through them right now. The first one is Baltimore City Teaching Residency, where we actually just celebrated our 20th year serving the Baltimore community. Our second program is the Indianapolis Teaching Fellows, where if this is where you're interested in teaching, you will be joining a very vibrant alumni network after the completion of your program. Teach Minnesota, which is the state's first alternative routes to certificate, one of the first state's first alternative routes to certification. And then lastly, Teach NOLA, where again, we've been serving for many years in New Orleans, and we have been consistently rated as a top teacher preparation program in Louisiana. So just a few notes on what you could possibly expect as a candidate as far as the flow of the application process. So the first step is pretty straightforward. You would visit our Teaching Fellows website, which, by the way, is tntpteachingfellows.org. Visit our website and make your way to the apply button, which is in the upper right corner of that website. And then you would begin create an account in order to begin your application. You would submit your application, then it's reviewed. After it's been reviewed and we have determined your application to be worthy to move forward, you would then be invited to a virtual interview where you would submit yourself answering some pre-recorded questions. Next up would be after you've done that and you have achieved a favorable outcome, you would then complete offered tasks and basically accept or decline your offer with us. Excuse me. And then after you've accepted, you would then complete some enrollment tasks. And then lastly, in the summer, depending on your location, you would begin what's called our PST or pre-service training. But our panelists will talk more about that. So I'm going to now bring on our illustrious panelists to share a little bit more about our program. So I'm going to first bring on, I'm just going to give a quick introduction. They'll introduce themselves again. We have Sean, who is with Baltimore City Teaching Residency. We have Courtney, who is also with Baltimore City Teaching Residency, or BCTR for short. Who's next? Going to alphabetical order, ITF. And then we have Candace with Indianapolis Teaching Fellows. I went out of order. No, I didn't. Then we have Nate with Teach Minnesota. And then last but not least, Carol and Nancy with Teach NOLA. So these wonderful people are going to be sharing some information about each of our programs. So I'm going to start it where, Sean, you're going to kick us off. So I'm going to share my screen now so that our audience can see this as we present. So 1 second.
Great. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. Hope we're good. Yes. All right. Hi, I'm Sean Nix. I am the program manager for the Baltimore City Teaching Residency, or BCTR as we call it for short here in Baltimore. I work with helping enrolling residents into the program and getting them set up for training in the summer. I also work with helping residents get hired. I work with principals and the district around that. And as you get into your first and second year, I also support our residents' certification, helping them gather documents, make sure that they're going through the right channels to get all their proper testing and things of that nature. So those are the main things that I do with Baltimore City Teaching Residency. So our resident, like Rick said, we are just celebrating our 20th year here in Baltimore. One of the unique things about the program is that we have a very strong connection with the district in Baltimore City. So we have an office that is there. We meet regularly with the hiring and certification staff in the city. We also, because we've been there for a while, we have a lot of residents that are still in Baltimore City, and there's about 10% of the teachers in Baltimore City have come through BCTR. And one of the things that are not unique, but I think kind of unique to all of our programs, is that our residents want to give back to their community. So we usually have a lot of career changers that are interested in teaching, have a passion for teaching, and want to give back to their community. So they our residents tend to come and train in Baltimore, but also stay in the community because they want to have an impact in Baltimore City and in the surrounding communities. So some of the things that you should expect, or what we're expecting for residents can expect, is a tight-knit group of educators that are here in Baltimore. Like I said, about 10% of current teachers in the city are BCTR. So there's always a large community of support and mentorship in the city for teachers in the residency program, as well as with all of our programs, expert coaching and instructional staff, which has, like I said, we've been doing this for 20 years. And one of the unique things about our program is that because we work so closely with the district, we're really work to get our residents hired even before starting training. So those are things that we talk and help our residents secure some employment before. Now, not everyone does, but that is something that we work towards getting before people come to training. So eligibility for our program, you need to have a conferred degree of at least 2.0 by June 1st of this year. And so that is so that we can assure that you can get your provisional certification by the end of your training. You must be eligible to work in the United States, a citizen, or have a work visa to work in the United States. Outside of that, really what we're looking for in terms of like residents and who will do well in the program is really having a passion for teaching, but also a passion for students and their learning and equability, a passion for the community that you're teaching in. Those are key. And then just a ability to be open to learning not only about your coursework and your content, but about the community that you're in, and having a learning spirit about all those things that are around you. Not only that you're coming to teach and impart knowledge, but you are also taking in knowledge from the community and from the staff and the BCTR community at a whole. And then Tariq has put up the final things like starting salary. So last year, each year, the salary goes up a little bit. So that salary is about, last year, it'll probably be about 52, 53 by the time this end of this June coming up. And then the program cost is $7,000 with the bonus of, if you are hired in the district, there's up to a $3,000 reimbursement that the district will give you after your first year of teaching. So that is something that we discuss as well when we talk through the program with our residents. But I think that I got everything in. I'm going to cut it, and so I'm not cutting into anyone else's time. But it's great to see everybody here, and we look forward to working with you.
Wonderful. Appreciate you, Sean. Again, if you have specific questions about BCTR, please hold them. At the end, we're going to take some live questions from you. So we're now going to turn it over to Candace. So Candace, feel free to kick things off.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Candace Jones. I serve as the program manager for Indianapolis Teaching Fellows. Similar to Sean, as the program manager, I handle a lot of the logistics and behind the scenes details that kind of make our program run, including getting the opportunity to meet all of our wonderful enrollees and fellows who are new to the program. And so just making sure that you have what you need to get started and be prepared for this journey, because it is a journey transitioning into education. So if you are into fun facts or history, you might be interested to know that Indiana has been known as the crossroads of America. So back in the day, there were two major highways that were part of the original federal highway system. And so if you're living in Indianapolis, it's a really relatively short drive to a lot of major cities. So for example, it's 2 hours to Louisville, about 3-hour drive to Chicago, a couple hours to Cincinnati. So we like to claim that title as the crossroads of America. But when it comes to the city of Indianapolis, it's really a major city with a small town feel. The cost of living is pretty affordable here. We have 9 townships in Marion County. That's important to know because as ITF, we partner with Center Township. So that encompasses the Indianapolis Public School District, as well as several charter networks. And so within Center Township, we have over 100 schools that we partner with. So as a fellow, you have a really wide range of opportunity to find a position that's a really good fit for you at one of our partner schools. Some of the things that you can expect, similarly to BCTR, we have a really close-knit community, several ITF alum across the city who are serving in various capacities. Many of our alumni are school leaders. Some of them work in, education policy or are influential in education in some way. We have obviously classroom veterans who are ITF alumni, but then we also have people who are affiliated with our organization and our program through other means. So this summer, you might get a chance to meet some of our seasonal coaches and staff who are decorated, many of them decorated teachers who've been in the classroom for a long time. And so you'll be able to get a really well-rounded experience and a lot of different perspectives as you're going through the program. We provide targeted coaching support, so you will be paired with someone who kind of is your cheerleader and your champion during your time with us, someone who will observe you, give you feedback on the many techniques and skills that you'll be learning and implementing in your classroom. And then another thing that we try to do is provide you as much access as possible to other resources in the city. And like I said, we have a really excellent selection of schools and school partners. One thing that is unique about our program is that you have the opportunity to earn your master's degree through our licensing partner, Marion University. So the state of Indiana has some pretty specific requirements when it comes to how many hours of transition to teaching coursework you need in order to obtain your professional license. And it's upwards of 18 to 24 credit hours. But I would say the added bonus of our program is that Marion's program is about 36 hours. So not only will you be covering your transition to teaching coursework as the requirement of the state, but you'll be earning your Master's of Arts in Teaching. In order to be eligible for our program, you need to have your bachelor's degree conferred by June 1st of 2023 with a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. If your undergraduate GPA is not 3.0, that doesn't automatically count you out of the program, but there may be some additional steps specifically related to Marion University admission that you'll have to go through, but we can have a conversation about that. We definitely do not want that to be a deterrent from you applying to the program. And additionally, when it comes to the starting salary, you'll see that there it's around $50,000, but there are some specific subject areas that sometimes will receive incentive because they're really high need. So for example, in years past, we've seen those who teach in science or math kind of receive a stipend or like a signing bonus with some of our partner schools because it's such a high need area. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the program cost is the actual cost of your graduate degree. So we can talk a little bit more about some of the support that we have access to through TNTP, but that's just a little bit about Indianapolis Teaching Fellows.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Candace.
Thanks.
We're going to now jump into Teach Minnesota. Nate, you're on.
Hello from sunny, snowy, wonderful Minnesota. My name is Nate Byrne, and I am also the program manager. You're going to hear from a lot of us as program managers here tonight for Teach Minnesota. We are, like Tariq mentioned at the start, we are relatively new to the state, but we are lucky enough to stand on the giants of BCTR and ITF, and then you're going to hear from NOLA right after. So we're able to use all of their learnings that they have accumulated from running this program for so long, and then adapt it to meet Minnesota. The things that I love about living here are definitely the fact that we do have all 4 seasons. You'll see I've stored my fishing net here in our bookcase. I love to go fishing in the summer. I love to go skiing in the winter, hiking and hunting in the fall, standing in mud in the spring. Spring's probably my least favorite season, if I'm being honest. But that's one of the really nice features of Minnesota, is you really get to experience all of those seasons in their full glory. And then we also have a really strong commitment to education. One of the reasons why we are in this space is because not everyone in Minnesota is experiencing that commitment to education equally. But when you look at especially those top line numbers for the state of Minnesota, we have some really good student outcomes. We have some favorable legislation. There's a lot of reasons why Minnesota could be the absolute best state for everyone. Right now it's near the top for some, and we're just trying to open those doors to make it the best for everyone who's here. What you could expect as a Teach Minnesota fellow is we also run that PST. So we have that 8 weeks of summer training where we run a summer school for one of our partner districts. And then coming out of that, you would step into, right now we're at a dozen partner schools. We're in conversations with more partner schools to spread out across the metro, and then maybe move into some of the other nearby cities as we grow as a program. But then you would start with one of our schools there in the fall, and you would be that teacher of record. And then one of the benefits of being a newer and smaller program is you would get a lot of that individualized coaching. Because our cohort is a little bit smaller, we have coaches in classrooms almost every week, sometimes more than once a week, especially to give you that really focused support. That first year of teaching is hard, and we really want to make sure that we offer you the support that you need to be successful in that first year, so that you are ready for that second year, that 9th year, that 15th year, to have that impact in your community for those kids for over that long term. Our eligibility requirements are very similar to a lot of the other programs. You need to have that bachelor's degree, could be anything, conferred by June 1st of 2023. Our GPA requirement is 2.25, but like Candace said, that is our requirement. If that's the only barrier and you're otherwise a highly qualified candidate, but you're sitting at 2.24, we're open to having that conversation. We just need to then check a lot more boxes if we aren't able to check that one right off. And then again, meeting all legal requirements to work in the United States is that pretty important requirement. Our average salary is listed here because there's a little bit more variability. Some of our school districts are starting closer to the high end of the 50s. Some of them are starting kind of the low end of the 40s. And so there's a little bit, because we partner with such a wide variety of districts, there is a little bit more variability in that starting salary. And our program cost for our elementary is $7,000 as well.
Much appreciated, Nate. We're going to now move into Teach NOLA, and we're going to hear from 2 special people as well. We're going to hear from Carol. Carol, I think, yeah, and my other friend, Nancy. So you all go ahead and kick it off.
Thank you so much, Tariq. I'm sorry, I look like a ghost with this very scary lighting. But my name is Carol O'Hay. I am a senior manager for Teach NOLA. I have lived in New Orleans for 13 years, and I have actually worked with Teach NOLA and our lovely fellows since 2017. My job as senior manager is to help recruit and enroll new fellows. partner with New Orleans schools to hire our fellows, and then ensure that our fellows successfully complete program and state requirements in order to be certified during their time in Teach NOLA. Nancy, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
I would. Thanks, Carol. And I apologize for feeling the weather right now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Nancy Turner. I am the director at Teach NOLA and work hand in hand with Carol and Tariq and our other incredible staff at Teach NOLA and then TNTP in general. I am an alumni of Teach NOLA myself from a very, very long time ago. I won't tell you what year. But as an alumni of Teach NOLA, I can truly speak to the power of our program and of our community. So thank you all for being here tonight. But mostly my role at Teach NOLA is just to really oversee our program in terms of training, recruitment, work with Carol and school partnerships, and just to truly ensure that our program is very much rooted in the things that we value, which are culture responsive teaching, high quality instruction and curriculum for our students, relationships with our students and our communities. And so I hope as you learn more about Teach NOLA and about all of our Teaching Fellow sites, you'll hear a lot of that come to life. So I'll send it back to Carol.
Thank you. So just sharing some things about New Orleans. New Orleans is a one-of-a-kind city with what we think is the best food in the whole country. There are so many reasons to love living in New Orleans, but one thing that really makes teaching here unique is our all-charter school education landscape. We partner with New Orleans Public Schools, which is 35 plus charter networks and standalone charter schools, each with its own unique mission and educational focus. Teach NOLA has operated in New Orleans since 2006. So there is a really large alumni network and strong presence in the city. Our alums can really be found in almost every school across the city at every single level. So that's something that makes teaching in New Orleans as a Teach NOLA fellow really special. As far as what to expect if you are a Teach NOLA fellow, as a Teach NOLA fellow, you'll be joining a year-long fellowship that kicks off with a summer training at the end of May 2023. Our summer training is 5 weeks of working directly with New Orleans students in classrooms alongside a Teach NOLA coach in the mornings, and then attending instructional sessions and receiving coaching feedback in the afternoons. Our Teach NOLA summer coaches are full-time teachers in New Orleans schools during the school year, and they bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to share. During the school year, you'll work as a full-time teacher with a full salary and benefits. Each fellow has a Teach NOLA coach that works with them one-on-one, visiting their classrooms and offering invaluable feedback and development tools throughout the year. Teach NOLA fellows also participate in online content coursework throughout the year as they work towards certification. Our participants often say that the coaching they receive through Teach NOLA is really a game changer, and it's the thing that pushes them to be the best teacher they can be for their students. For eligibility, while some fellows enter Teach NOLA with teaching experience, the vast majority of our cohort will be brand new to teaching. There is no previous experience required. In order to participate, you must have a bachelor's degree before the start of training with a cumulative GPA of at least a 2.2. As a Teach NOLA fellow, you will be a full-time employee of one of our partner schools. And as I said, through that, you receive the full salary and benefits of that teaching position. And these do vary from school to school. Teach NOLA runs from May 2023 to June 2024, so a full calendar year. Tuition is $4,700 for the entire year, and that covers summer training, school year coaching, and certification coursework. And as far as what we're looking for in candidates, it's really simple. Someone with a passion for working with kids and a willingness to learn and grow through feedback. We feel confident that we can teach you the rest. So just coming with that positive attitude and open mind. And that's it for us.
That sounds great. Appreciate you all. And last but not least, we're going to hear from Courtney. All right, Courtney, you are now on.
Hello,
And I love your background, by the way.
yeah, it looks familiar, right?
Right.
Hello,
Take it away.
everybody. I'm Courtney Beckham. I am the cultivation coach for BCTR. I'm also a first grade math and science teacher for Baltimore City Public Schools, and I'm also a BCTR alumni. So, as the cultivation coach, my job is basically to reach out to the fellows that's in the enrollment process and kind of be like your support system if you need anything, remind you of important deadlines and things you need to submit, and walk you through that process until it's time for training in the summertime. So, as a first year teacher, I think I just heard Nate, I believe, say first year teaching was really hard. So I kind of just wanted to talk more so about the support that I received through my first year through BCTR, of course. So through that first year, when I joined a lot of the other teachers, the first thing they said was, "Oh my gosh, that first year is crazy." I felt like they just kind of like threw me in there like a wolf, and I just had to fend for myself. And I was like, "Oh, I can't relate." I had my coach on speed dial. I was texting her, calling her, asking all types of questions. The support that I got that first year kind of just gave me that leverage to kind of just keep going and keep pushing no matter what. So the support through that first year as a teacher is incredible, and I know it saved me plenty of times throughout my first year. Um, so when I think about like ways that I grew as a teacher, the skills that you kind of learn as far as like your time management, making sure that you're on time for things. We expect our students to be on time, so we kind of just start to work better with time. Even just with this webinar alone, I told myself it started at 6:30 because like I'm still a work in progress, but I want to make sure that I show up. I show up for my students on time every day, just like I want them to show up for me. Kind of just working those time management skills and making sure I adhere to deadlines. It's a huge part of being a teacher. It seems like it's always something due. It's always something that you have to submit. So kind of just holding yourself accountable, finding new ways and strategies. I've learned to love like my planner and utilize those tools to kind of just be more organized. Um, let's see, what advice would I give to a prospective teacher? I would say that the thing that someone told me is to remember that a teacher is the career that creates all other careers. So no matter what your day is like, and I always try to reflect on that, even when you feel like you don't do enough, realize how important your job is. Um, Walk in, like I've heard other panelists say this evening, we have a heavy plate and we have to have a purpose. So just always remember your why. Remember why you chose this program. Even the ones that aren't enrolled yet, you had a reason to come here tonight. You had a reason to be with us and inquire and start an application. And hopefully it's the children and you want to change lives. And that'll always kind of just give you that little battery in your back to keep going when things get hard. And then also, how did TNP? Oh, so TNTP has really had a huge impact on my trajectory as a educator. I've made some amazing friends. I've made some lifelong friendships. Like everyone is saying, it's a close knit community. In Baltimore, you can find a BCTR alumni at every school you're at. It could be your principal, it could be your vice principal, it could be a math interventionist teacher, it could be a regular teacher, your mentor. So we have like a lot of roles in Baltimore City Public Schools, and we have a really good reputation. And it's kind of just like a little community. We always support one another. Every time I'm like, "Oh, I went to BCTR," they're like, "Oh, me too." And then it's like we best friends from that point on, because we know, the program is not easy at all. We had to endure a lot to get through it, but the reward is absolutely amazing. So just kind of keep your why, of course. Just think about that when you leave here, like, why did I come here tonight? And hopefully you can kind of just be like, okay, that's why. So that's my little 2 cents. Thank you all for coming.
Well said. Well said. Thank you so much, Courtney. That's a great conclusion to our spotlights. I'm going to take you up. I'm going to bring you back in a second. Really appreciate all of our panelists for sharing their perspectives on our programs. We're now going to move into our Q&A. So, but before we do that, go ahead and show some love to our panelists in the comments, if you will. And while you're doing that, also, I would love for you to start putting in your comments or questions into the comment section so that we can start answering them. And what I'm going to do is, many of you have submitted questions already in the RSVP form that you submitted. So I'm going to start with those questions. And then as your questions come into the comments, we'll try to address all of those as well. So to my wonderful panelists, the first question I kind of want to start with, and anyone feel free to come off mute and answer the question. But one of the questions that we got from a few people were providing assistance with job placement. Would anyone or a couple of you of our panelists like to speak to that question? What assistance do you provide to candidates with job placement?
I can start, but I think everyone will have a similar thing. So for most of us as program managers, I think I'll speak for Baltimore, we work with schools and districts to help place our residents. So there's a couple of ways that looks like in Baltimore. You do the application, but they're also on their application, they have a point where they flag if you're a part of BCTR. And so that alerts a lot of principals to our residents being part of the training. So a couple of things happen. One, you can interview for positions out there once you are enrolled in the program, have met the requirements. And that's kind of like, if you want to be proactive and do that, you can. The other thing that happens is that principals come to myself and our director, Johari, asking for candidates in certain positions and things of that nature. And we provide a list of candidates that are in those parameters to principals to contact you. We also give you information about schools that are looking for certain candidates in certain subjects. Along with those things, the district holds job fairs in person, virtually as well. And then we do a couple of things to prepare people. We do mock interviews. I do sessions on helping people fill out resumes, how to interview, especially if you've never had a career in education. That can be kind of daunting, be going before principals. So we do prep work for that, along with those mock interview times. And we also can be a advocate, and myself being a reference for you for some of the application stuff. So like myself, Johari, can be a reference for you in those things. And so there's a lot of other ways, but that's in general how Baltimore, we help our residents secure positions and prepare them for interviewing and getting those positions, with PST being the biggest prep.
For Indianapolis,
Go ahead, Candace. Go ahead.
For Indianapolis, one of the resources that we provide for our incoming fellows is a cohort website. On that website, we have a specific section that is dedicated to helping you kind of navigate the hiring experience. So we have a list of our partner schools, kind of a database that has each school listed, links to their website, who you can contact at the school. We really want for our fellows to feel empowered to lead their own hiring process. So we really encourage you to do your research on each of the partner schools. And I like to tell fellows that it's kind of like this happy marriage that you want to have between a school that's really high need and needs you there, but also a school that really aligns with your personal values. And so it really takes some research to do that. We do have alumni, like was mentioned before, at several of our partner schools. So that's a great place to start to get information about the school that you want to work at. When it comes to hiring, we also have what we call being school hire ready. So that requires you to upload a copy of your resume. We'll give you feedback on it. We also ask that you provide us with a headshot and a short bio about yourself. And what we do is upload all of that information to a private website that is private to our school partners, so they can get a chance to interact with some of your information. And then some of them usually will reach out to you ahead of, there's 3 events that we have in the spring called site visits, and those are paired with hiring fairs. So we have some of our school partners that come to the site visit, you'll have a chance to interview or meet or learn a little bit more about the school. So we try our best to support you as much as possible, but we want that final decision for you to make so that you feel confident heading into the school year.
I just wanted to add one last thing. New Orleans, we do a lot of the same sort of like systems and structures, so I won't repeat them. My colleagues said them so well, but I particularly loved what Candace was saying about it really being about finding the right fit for you. We help facilitate your job search, but ultimately, as I said, like New Orleans has a very varied charter landscape. And so our schools are all very different. And we really encourage fellows to do research, look into kind of like what you think would be the best fit for you, and really just like be open-minded to experiencing new things. I think those are the keys to the job process for us.
Awesome. Appreciate that. I'll take one question from my audience, but before I take it, just a reminder to those who are on with us, please submit your questions in the comments, and we'll field them live. We also have some of our TNTP staff who are in the comments answering some questions as well, so we appreciate you for that as well. So this question: after completing the program, could I leave the city of Baltimore with my certification to work closer to home in Maryland if needed? Sounds like a question for you, Sean or Courtney.
Yes. Yes. So our program is a 2-year program. While you're with us, you're on what's called a resident teaching certification, which is a probational certification, which you have to stay in your school for 2 years, which is in the District of Baltimore. After that, successfully completing the program, you move to what's called a standard professional certification, which is the same certification if you went through a university program here in the state of Maryland, which allows you to teach in your subject area and grade level in any public school in the state of Maryland. Although we would love for people to stay in Baltimore and continue to teach in Baltimore, after you have that certification, you're actually certified to teach any public school in your certification area in the state of Maryland.
Wonderful. Appreciate that. I have another question that was submitted earlier, and this question is Teach NOLA I teach? Can I live in Terrebonne Parish or another parish and go through the program?
Yeah, I can feel that. So iTeach is another alternate certification program that operates throughout the country. We have a section here in Louisiana, but Teach NOLA and iTeach are not connected. We are our own certification program. So someone going through Teach NOLA would be getting their standard teaching certification through us rather than an entity like iTeach. As far as living in Terrebonne Parish, if someone wants to commute from somewhere like Houma to New Orleans to teach in our schools, we welcome you. It's not a fun drive, but if you're used to it, power to you. But our teachers are required to be teaching in our partner schools, which are all located within Orleans Parish.
Great. To the point. Appreciate it. And no problem, Paul. Another question that we received was about praxis from another state. Not exactly sure the exact focus of that question, but what I think that person is asking is, what if they have taken a praxis certification from another state or have earned their certification from another state? If anyone wants to chime on any part of that question.
I'll start, and if someone wants to pick it up. So praxis is nationwide. So with all the tests are kind of, standardized tests. Now, each state may pick certain tests to use towards certification. So I think on our site and in the our website, it has a link to like the state tests per subject area, and I think we all do. So if you take in like a English exam test that in another state, but Maryland accepts it, then you're good. The second part of that is if you've been certified. So if you've been, and I'll speak for Baltimore and Maryland, if you've been fully certified, state certified in another state, you will not be eligible for our program. This doesn't include district certification. This is state certified. You won't be able to move. But if you are state certified and that's their certification is still good, you can transfer between states. And that's one of the things I do as a program manager is help our current residents that want to move and help them transfer certifications to different states. But if you're already certified, you would not be eligible for our program in Maryland.
Appreciate it, Sean. I don't know if there's any additional follow-up from anyone. I think you covered it. Got a couple of specific questions. I will start with this one from Heather. How often do candidates make it through summer training and do not get a job placement in the fall?
I can speak. I can try to speak. My voice is not great. So that it's I can throw my voice in a little bit. Heather, that's a really good question, and I think that's something that people often come to us and talk to us a lot about. But truly, this is not something, and I can speak particularly for Teach NOLA, that is a problem. We start working once people are enrolled in our program. We begin connecting you with our school partners. And they are very open to talking to people about hiring even before our pre-service training begins. So a lot of our fellows are hired before pre-service training. However, we do have an evaluation bar where we ask that you meet that to officially complete our pre-service training to move into the next part of our program. But I think Carol can probably speak to the numbers exactly. But I think at least for the past couple of summers, we've had 100% of people that are finishing our training, and I'm seeing head nods from everyone else too. Is offered a position and has a teaching position for the fall.
Thank you, Nancy. We have a few questions, few quick hits, and I'm going to conclude with my last question. But next question: if I'm currently working in Jefferson Parish as a SPED inclusion teacher, do I need to switch for the program for Teach NOLA?
I can take that one. Yeah, currently we do only partner with Orleans Parish Charter Schools. So if you were interested in doing Teach NOLA, you would need to be teaching in one of those schools during the year that you're participating in the fellowship. I'm happy to share like some more specifics about what schools we do partner with offline. So maybe I can be connected with you through like some of the follow-up after this so that we can talk more specifically.
Thank you, Carol. And the question for Candace. Could I move to another state with my Marian graduate degree? I have no plans to move, but I wanted to know if I'd have to become certified in another state.
That one's a little tricky. I think each state has specific requirements for if you're doing a transfer. It may require you to take an additional exam, or there may be some other coursework that you're required. The certification varies pretty significantly from state to state, so I can't really speak to another state.
My advice for that is always like, if there's anywhere you're ever thinking about moving in the future, look into their requirements for certification now. Like some states like California and New York and Texas have very stringent like state specific requirements, whereas we have reciprocity with a lot of other states and there aren't necessarily other things you have to do to switch your certification over. So I just recommend doing research now for anything that like you can anticipate that you may think about in the future. Otherwise, just know that if you did decide on a whim to move somewhere else, there may be additional things you need to do.
Much appreciated. Last question, and this came in our RSVP forms. What preparation would you recommend even before beginning the program?
I can share a little bit. So for Indianapolis, obviously getting acquainted with our school partners is a huge way to be prepared. But we also cover 4 different textbooks that you will use during pre-service training. And so we encourage you as early as possible in the enrollment process to either purchase or get them from the library and begin to familiarize yourself with that information, you'll be surprised how far ahead you'll be by the time that training starts if you kind of have that foundation.
The other thing I'd recommend is, like, if you have an idea of what you think you want to teach, start preparing for your praxis tests now. Getting those tests out of the way is like the biggest barrier. And if you can do that before you've even started training, you are so set up for success.
Yeah, I'm going to plus one what Carol said. Testing is the hardest thing, but it's the thing that gets you past a lot of barriers. And I talked about us wanting to get people hired early. The district wants to see that your praxis tests are done. So you could get hired as early as March, April here, but those tests have to be completed. And so that's the biggest thing. And then just getting all your enrollment tasks when they're asked. And another thing I will plug is going to the TNTP website and reading the opportunity myth might be a great thing to get you in the right mindset of what you're walking into as a teacher.
And I just wanted to chime in because we talked about Praxis. I did want to flag that Teach Minnesota doesn't actually use Praxis. Minnesota has different standardized tests that they use for teaching certification. So I just wanted to plug that for Nate and Teach Minnesota in case that's what you're interested in.
They took off.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought I muted myself. I was just going to say they took all my answers. So pretty much just, I was going to say the same thing about making sure you study for those exams. And I know specifically for BCTR, whatever your starting salary is just a conditional certification. Once you pass all your tests and become, on your standard license, you can go ahead and you'll see a nice pay raise. So it's not like just taking your, exams, but making sure you're studying to increase your salaries and making sure you're prepared to be, a successful, effective teacher. So kind of that, and just kind of browsing that TNTP website, making sure you're familiar with all the requirements. All of the programs I see kind of varied in cost. I'm only familiar with BCTR, but when you're working PST, it's a job. So you got strict, days you're working from the morning to the evening. So you need to make sure if you're making any pay cuts or kind of adjusting your salary and making sure that you're prepared financially as well and just mentally, because it's a complete change of lifestyle, honestly.
Again, really appreciate all of our panelists and to my audience. We appreciate you for being here. So again, please show some love for our panelists for them being here and sharing some very vital information. So I don't want to end this without leaving you some ways to stay in touch with us, because I know there were some questions that we were not able to go in detail about. So I want to make sure that you have a way to reach out to us. So you can reach any of our programs through this email address, info@tntpteachingfellows.org. Please. Also, you can follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TNTP Teach, or our LinkedIn and YouTube at TNTP Teaching Fellows. And of course, our website where you can learn lots of important information about what we offer and what we're about. And also, really strongly encourage you to apply today if after what you've heard here, you feel compelled and inspired and ready to move forward with your application. You can take your first step by scanning this QR code, or if you want to type in or write down the URL manually, that is on the screen as well. Or if it's easier, the application link is also in this video description. So many ways to access it. Also, some things I want to put on your radar that are upcoming. And again, the best way to stay in touch with us and keep track of these events are following us on our social media. But some of the things to look forward to that will be streamed right here on Facebook and YouTube as well are our fireside chats. I couldn't think of a better name for them, so we'll go with that name for now. But nonetheless, on every third Thursday of the month, resuming or starting today, really, but picking up again in December, we'll be discussing some important and relevant topics in the education field. That would be good to just kind of get a plug into experts in these different topics. So we'll have various expert guests, as well as or outside of TNTP as well as our own current residents or alumni who will be joining me as we facilitate some of these topics, such as teacher social and emotional wellness, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the classroom. In February, how to be an anti-racist educator. In March, being black in STEM. And then lastly, in April, measuring student achievement. So again, please stay tuned for those events. Our upcoming event will be on December 15th. And in case you missed it, you can apply by scanning this QR code here or accessing the video in our description. And lastly, before we all part ways here, if you know of someone who would be an excellent, phenomenal, impactful, inspiring, all of those good words, type of teacher for students, please nominate them. You can do so by going onto our website. I'll also try to put that in the comments before everyone gets away. But you can nominate someone by going to our website at tntpteachingfellows.org. And the big thing here is we'll be doing a raffle on December 9th. So you have an easy, free chance to win a $75 gift card for nominating someone to be a teacher with us through one of our programs, Baltimore City, Indiana Teaching Fellows, Teach Minnesota, or Teach NOLA. All you have to do is go on our website, type in their information, their email address, so that we can contact them and so that they can ultimately begin the application. I appreciate you. That's my colleague, Lee Tall, in the comments who just posted the link to nominate someone. So please, please, please do that. And I just want to end with thanking you all for being here. This video will live on our YouTube and Facebook pages. So in case you missed anything in the beginning, feel free to go back and check out anything that's been said. And we look forward to hearing from you. So again, have a great, great, great holidays, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care, everyone.